in the Kenyan constitution, there is no right to health. So how do you deal with that? How, if you want to make economic and social rights claims, are there some possibilities for creative interpretation of existing articles in the Constitution, or is there some other way we can get at that?
I think there is a lot of opportunity to be innovative, to try various ways of trying to push for economic, social, cultural rights through our courts. Unfortunately, our human rights movement, our law society, our health activists have not really tried to explore this avenue. I link the right to health to the right to life. And the human rights are about people who are alive. There's no dead person who can claim any human rights. And there are very straightforward ways in which you can link the right to health to the right to life, and therefore make case for actually having the right to health to be a priority of any nation. After all, the government doesn't come with its private money into government. You are actually talking about people's taxes being prioritized. And if we are saying life is the basic, fundamental, you should be able to actually make case for having more money go to health rather than to security or to the army. But our civil society movements have not innovatively tried to make that argument and hold governments accountable. We don't even do, for instance, health budget monitoring to be able to demonstrate clearly that we think we are wasting money here. We haven't done monitoring of how much money we lose in procurements and corruption that can actually go to health and actually deliver the right to health. So in Kenya, I feel that there is a big gap in terms of getting civil society organizations to innovatively make arguments that would ensure that the right to health is actually implemented better. Kenya is also party to a number of international instruments. I think all of them, nearly all of them, except for, I think all of them, all the basic 7 instruments. Kenya is party to the African Charter on the Rights, on Human and People's Rights, and the one on the welfare of the child. Kenya has signed the protocol that establishes the African Court. So we have various mechanisms, even if you're talking about challenging, using the domestic realm and then moving on to the African Commission and attempting to go to the African Court. There is all these avenues where we can actually try and do something. Now, the other innovative way, Kenya has not domesticated these instruments. But
do you want to explain what that means? Domesticating the instrument.
Kenya has ratified, Kenya has not converted, I hope I'm using the right. Kenya has not translated its international human rights obligations into domestic law. It will be required to actually move the provisions within the international instruments into domestic law. But there is one law that we have in place that, in my view, amounts to such domestication, and that is the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Act. When you look at Section 2 of this act, it actually defines human rights as including ratified international human rights instruments. Now, I've been itching and trying to get some practitioners to actually go to court and argue that by virtue of Section 2 of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Act, Article 12 of the Convention on the Economic, Social, Cultural Rights is applicable, and therefore the right to health should be enforced. But again, as I'm saying, we don't have that innovative way of trying to make the case among our civil society organizations. So of course, there is need to build, and Kenya doesn't do a lot of public interest litigation as well, as compared to South Africa. So there would be need, if we are talking about Eastern Africa, it's not just Kenya, there would be need to try and build capacity to try and get a number of the civil societies to engage on public litigation on economic, social, cultural rights.
And I sense from what you're saying, Catherine, that there's also a need to get advocates to use the right to health in their own advocacy, just in their speech, that may not be done sufficiently.
Yes.
Setting aside the question of going to court.
Yes, I believe we don't use that enough. Even if Kenya had not ratified any of the international instruments, I believe there is enough. We can use the language in the international instruments in our day-to-day advocacy on matters of health and human rights.